Madam Deputy Speaker. As I set out in my question to the Leader of the House on Thursday, I welcome the Government's tabling this carry-over motion for the Hillsborough Law, but in truth, it should never have come to this. It's both wrong and difficult to accept why we find ourselves here today with no Hillsborough Law in legislation. This delay rests solely with a government that at times has refused to push past the vested interests that were always going to oppose transparency and accountability. Minister, it was never in doubt that we would face resistance. We have discussed this before, but political courage and determination are essential when seeking to change a culture of cover-ups that has damaged our country and undermined trust in our institutions. We both stood... Of course I give way.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I think it would be remiss of this House if we didn't put on record our thanks to the Honourable Member for Liverpool West Derby and the Honourable Lady for Liverpool Wavertree for all their hard work to make this happen, for their endurance, for their perseverance, for their determination, for their courage and their commitment. Because of them, because of their efforts and the efforts that they have made over the years, and we're all greatly moved by their efforts, the Minister and this Government have brought forward a legislative change in the carry-over tonight, and this great United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland are the better for all their collective efforts. Thank you.
Can I thank my honourable friend for those kind words? Minister, we both stood in 2024 on a clear manifesto commitment to deliver the Hillsborough Law in full. The Prime Minister promised on multiple occasions that passing the Hillsborough Law will be among the first acts of this Government. Yet 2 anniversaries of Hillsborough and an entire parliamentary session have now passed without it being delivered. That is simply not good enough. And when I hear that certain ministers oppose this legislation due to pressure from the security services and the Ministry of Defence, I have to say that is precisely why leadership is required. Because, Minister, the buck stops with the Prime Minister. To push through disagreements and ensure this is delivered in its entirety. Madam Deputy Speaker, every delay causes real and profound distress to bereaved families, survivors and campaigners. People who have spent decades fighting for truth, justice and accountability against a state that failed them and then sought to cover up those failures. And crucially, as we have always said, this law is vital for the many people who don't yet know they will one day need it. So it is essential that this carry-over motion is not merely a procedural device to keep this bill alive, but a clear signal of the Government's intent to implement the Hillsborough Law in full at the earliest opportunity, as has been promised. This motion must now be matched with urgency and action. And the truth is this: it could be resolved in a single day if the political will exists. How? By the Government adopting my amendments to the current bill, which would restore it to the full Hillsborough Law that was promised. I commend every single person who was for this legislation. It's my job in this place to ensure that the Government delivers a Hillsborough Law worthy of the name. For many, it is rightly described as a legacy, but more than that, if we get this right, it will ensure that state cover-ups are far harder to carry out in the future. That would be a legacy of real and lasting value to this country, for future generations and to those who we will never forget. The duty of candour applied to all, ensuring nobody is above the law, is essential for groups still fighting for justice, including families affected by the nuclear test scandal and those impacted by the Chinook disaster, whose pursuit of truth has been obstructed for far too long. In both of those cases, it's understood that thousands of documents remain restricted, despite the circumstances being decades ago. There must be no built-in escape route whereby any state body can decide for itself what evidence it provides to an inquiry or an investigation, as exists under the Government's current provisions. This is carte blanche for future cover-ups. Campaigners from these causes have stood shoulder to shoulder in the fight for the Hillsborough Law. I and many other honourable members across all these benches will not abandon them now, and nor should this Government. Any proposed amendments that weaken that commitment must be withdrawn, Minister. My Amendment 23, supported by more than 70 members in this House, would remove the carve-out for the intelligence and security services, which currently exempts them from the duty of candour. Since the bill was shelved in January, no minister has been able to explain why these amendments cannot be accepted or why those services should not be subject to the same duty. This amendment, fully supported by all campaigns connected to the Hillsborough Law, simply applies existing national security safeguards already used elsewhere to the duty of candour, ensuring those bodies are not placed above the law, while maintaining full protection for national security. Therefore, the government's stated concerns on national security do not withstand scrutiny. These amendments would have zero adverse impact on national security. So I ask again, as the parliamentary lead for the Hillsborough Law, why can't these amendments not be adopted, and why can't the full Hillsborough Law not be passed when this House returns? Minister, in what has been a difficult 18 months for this government, marked at times by damaging and totally avoidable political choices, we must not allow this to become another self-inflicted wound, snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. It's far too important. Delivered in full, the Hillsborough Law will be transformational. It will place social justice at the very heart of government and show the public clearly and convincingly whose side we are on. I know that is what we both want. So a firm commitment without delay to delivering on this government's promise is the very least that those who have fought for so long for justice deserve. And Minister, it must happen as soon as this House returns in May.
Yeah.